It's a bit of a different shape. Okay. I was supposed to make this video days ago, but I ended up playing with the laptop way more than I actually wanted to make a video about it, just because of how great my experience has been. So, well, here we are. This is the Acer Aspire 3, and in this video we are going to have a first impressions look at it after a few days of me actually using it. To start is the exterior, the outside appearance of the laptop. I don't know about you, but this clean charcoal black look is everything that I've ever wished on laptops ever. The clean aesthetic of it, like with the only exception being the Acer logo, makes it feel like just a premium laptop at a price of around $600. It's not cheap, but it suggests a price point that is higher than it. Sure, it's a bit thicker, but that honestly is fine because we have a ton of ports. Right here we have our DCN, we have an Ethernet port, very nice to see, HDMI, two USB 3 ports, and then on the other side we have the Kensington lock, and then another USB 2 port, and the headphone jack. This has a headphone jack, nice. Now the one thing that I would like to have seen in this laptop in the port section is SD card readers, because most of my media shot like this are on SD cards. So if I do have to edit something on this, I will have to plug in an adapter. And I will be editing stuff on it. But first, going around to the back here, we have, oh yeah, a big grill right there. We're gonna talk about more of that later, and then just like these slippy feet. Now, I alluded to the fact that I'm gonna be editing stuff on this later. You might think, wait a minute, on that price point in your country, you're only gonna get like i3s or even Ryzen 3s if you're lucky, right? Like, isn't that gonna be a bit of a challenge there? Well, yes. It does look like, on the price point anyways, something that, you know, you would compromise on specs, especially with how much it looks, like the premium look of it suggests that you're cutting a few corners of it, right? Well, if we open it, what's this? Yes, my friends, this laptop is powered by an AMD Ryzen 5 3500U with Vega 8 graphics. And the other specs don't even have that much of a compromise either. This has 8 gigs of DDR4 2400 megahertz RAM, sorry about that, 128 gig NVMe SSD, a 1 terabyte hard drive, a 1080p screen. It's not IPS, but come on, a 1080p screen, and just the overall design of it and how it's been put together just looks amazing to me. We'll get into turn this thing on right there. Commenting on the internal appearance of this thing, I actually really like it. Like, sure, the trackpad could be a little bit bigger if they shifted the keyboard up slightly, but that makes some room for these like vents right here, which, believe me, push out a ton of air when they are under load. And I have put this thing under load. There's also another surprise for here, actually. Putting on my pin. What's that? Windows 11. So I'm going to talk about Windows 11 in a different video, but for now, this laptop with its specs combined with the dev channel, was it beta or dev channel, whatever, with Windows 11 build 2200 just feels incredibly snappy. Like here, let's open up File Explorer. And that's not really even at the expense of battery life. I got about 5 hours of this thing playing YouTube and doing stuff in the background. And that's at the best performance mode. And that's partly thanks to the fact that it has a 42 watt-hour battery, so that's pretty damn good for a 15 watt CPU. Now that 15 watt limit is a little bit of a problem, and we will talk about that more in a discussion with the chip itself, but hey, at this price point, you're lucky if you can get and Core i3 10th gen or 11th gen. Actually, you can get it now, right? You can get it now because obviously you could. 10th and 11th gen are now more available than ever, but even then, the best that you can get is a dual core hyper-threaded one. And even if they can come close to this Zen Plus CPU, this is not Zen 2, unlike the name suggests. The graphics side is where things get really good for this chip. Even at, an 11th gen i3, you're only going to get a G4. That is 48, I think, I don't know, it was 64 or 48, I don't know. You're only going to get an Xe G4. That's not going to be enough to beat the Vega 8 that they've put on this thing. The Vega 8 punches way more above its weight class at this price point and competes actually with the Xe G7s. So that's the high-end i5s and i7s of the 11th generation, and then the i7s of the 10th gen Ice Lake generation. So performance is looking pretty damn good. Let's open up Firefox in here. I don't know how to type this thing. Oh yeah, the keyboard. It's what I would have expected from Acer, except for, actually, it has a little bit of a different feel to it. I don't know if it's just me, but it feels a little bit closer to my old Vivo book than it is to, say, an Acer Swift 3. Like the keys, okay, let me type something in here. The keys, they're still fairly shallow for, scissor switches. They're not as deep as my old Asus laptop. And yeah, that's characteristic of Acer, of actually every Acer laptop that I've ever tried. They have fairly shallow switches, and that makes them really good for like quick typing, but not as good for longer ones. But the funny thing about this is that it has, thanks to the chassis build, I suppose, it's way more stable on the hand. Like, okay. Oh, God. Right, for me, it's swift, it's fast, it's a fast keyboard, but I don't feel the fatigue of, like, the feel of typing on flat surface with a little shallow click to it. It feels pretty damn good, even for longer typing periods. Now the screen. It's 1080p, which is great, but it's also a Acer's Comfy View LCD. Now the difference between a TN and an IPS panel is mostly just down to colors and viewing angles. In-plane switching is the longer term. IPS is abbreviated, and as the name suggests, it switches the plane while you're tilting it, making viewing angles extremely wide, like it doesn't even matter. On screens like this, like TN, yeah, you will have to fiddle around with it. And the contrast itself isn't even like that great, I would say. The gamma is fairly low. Or, well, what I meant to say is the gamma is fairly boosted. The blacks are not as deep as they should be. But what I would say is that the colors seem to be fine. Again, the contrast is a little bit off, and there's not much contrast to it. But a 1080p panel like this for the price, I ain't complaining. Of course, this 1080p panel is driven by a GPU that most likely won't be able to push 1080p. And I know because I tried. Running Rocket League on 1080p low, or 1080p performance, I suppose, with quality rendering settings, because that's actually where the bulk of how Rocket League looks depends on, like, the rendering quality. I just set it on quality and put everything else on performance because I preferred the look. I'm getting around 30 FPS with depth down to 25. And if I decrease it all the way down to 720p performance, I get barely 60 FPS. Now, that's still a pretty good result, because I would expect an old, a 7th, 8th, or 9th gen Intel UHD, HD/UHD integrated graphics to perform basically never, like not even render anything at that scale. But, you know, it's not a gaming machine. But again, if you wanted a gaming machine, you would get a Nitro 5 for a little bit more than this. The only thing that you'll be trading is build quality. This Acer Aspire 3, it's not Acer's like top of the line. They have the Swift 3 that's actually my sister's and my dad's laptop now. My dad's has a 4500U and my sister has a 7020U. So that line is much better build. It has aluminum, but it does come at some costs. Like, for example, the price. They are about the same as this, or actually with the 4500U, it's way more. And for the overall, like how it's put together, yes, it's built much nicer, but the thing is, those screws on the bottom that I showed you earlier, actually, I can show them again right here. They're actual screws. They're Phillips head screws. The Swift 3, meanwhile, I actually opened it a while back, actually yesterday or a few days ago, has like little like torque screws or something. Now you're able to open it with like a flathead, with a small flathead screwdriver, and just, you know, just grab onto one of the leads. But that's not a great experience for upgradability. And this thing actually has not a ton, but enough upgradability for me to last it a while. It has a single RAM slot. The other 4 gigs is actually soldered on, but I had it configured when we bought it to already have 4 gigs inside. And there's the PCI Express NVMe slot where the SSD is located. There's also the SATA slot where the hard drive is located, and then that's basically kind of it, you know? But what do you expect? It's a laptop, right? I'm actually just thankful that you can actually open the bloody thing in a reasonable amount of time. Even then, even with the reduced upgradability, the lack of the actual ports and expansion that I need, and the, you know, fairly mediocre screen, it makes up for it by its sheer performance. Excellent build quality for the price. It's plastic, but no, there's no deck flex on it, especially when compared to stuff that I used to work with. So this is a great machine that I will be using personally for a very long time. And that's basically it. I don't have any other words for this. This is gonna be my, oh, hello. This is going to be my back to school machine. And it's going to be powering it for quite some time. So yeah, that's basically it. This is the Acer Aspire 3, A31422 R4U whatever. It's this one. And I like it very much, actually. So that's basically it. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you want more, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Peace. Why does the camera have to cut off?